What is something serious going on in the world that a lot of people aren't aware of? France is opting to destroy an incredible massive coral reef in Tahiti, a whole ecosystem that takes so much time for marine life to develop, to build an aluminum judge tower for the 2024 Olympics. I think this is disgraceful. That's disgusting. WTF. Damn, I didn't know this at all. This should be front news. Should be higher up. Making the tower higher up would cause even more damage, as it would widen the footprint and or cause them to pour a deeper foundation. The plan calls for 12 foundation points. Is there any petitions against this? The locals on the island are petitioning to try to get it stopped. The committee have just announced publicly, in last 3 days, said they will try to develop a mitigation plan, but the barges that they are using to transport materials is still operating. The reef is not that deep and it is still compromising/disrupting the ocean life. I've seen and shared a video of natives following a barge that was just doing preparations for the construction, and you can hear it crunching through the reef. The Olympics are a deeply destructive event every time. How do we help them? This is so horrible. Found the petition you linked. Do the locals have a fund to help cover lawyers and such? Top soil quality. Genuinely good answer. Far fewer people are aware of this than the various wars. I'd add the decline in insect population. I was pleased this year to see so many people rewilding their gardens. We've put as many different grass seeds and wildflower seeds all over our garden as possible and really held back on mowing any grass we can bar a small part for the kids to play on. Even with that though, there's been a marked decline in a lot of insects. So few butterflies and dragonflies over the last 5 years. There is a surge of people transitioning away from single-species grass lawns to local native plants. I think they're calling it naturescaping or prairiescaping. As you could probably guess, HOAs and neighbors typically lose their minds about the weeds. It's so much better for the environment, and I hope the trend catches on. Natives are drought-tolerant, and local wildlife has co-evolved with them. Lawns themselves are an abomination. They don't do anything, they're just an endless black hole sucking in massive amounts of water, time, and gasoline, latter two for yard maintenance, while providing basically zero benefit and roundly screwing bees, insects, and other animals in the region. I think the future is going to look back on monoculture lawns as one of the great social follies of our age, like phrenology. I also think that in the future we will look back and ask ourselves why activists only focused on homeowners and their lawns, but said zero words about the lush lawns all local churches, government buildings and private businesses maintained that were much larger. We should also consider the amount of prime agricultural land being used to grow grass seed and sod instead of food. The Willamette Valley in Oregon is one of the most concentrated grass seed producing regions in the world. Yes, but first let's talk some more about how people love to hate homeowners for having grass, but they won't even think about going down to their local mega church, private building or local government offices talking about that monoculture shit. Jesus is in the clouds, man, he doesn't need lush lawns. Edit, and I would think these activists would have a problem with government sites above all because their taxes, assuming they owe some kind of property, pay for the water that waters those lawns, unlike homeowners who 100% pay for their own water. Last summer my wife and kids and I hatched at least 24 monarchs. Found the eggs at parks and reared them from egg to cat to chrysalis to hatch. It was a pretty rewarding experience. Supposedly it helps increase the numbers by doing this as you remove them from predation and chemical contamination possibilities. They sell kits and instructions online. It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. I also overseeded the whole lawn this fall with a bee lawn mix. Combo of fine fescues and low, nitrogen-fixing flowers like clover, creeping thyme, and self-heal. That is so lovely. I've seen butterfly kits online, I just want to make sure I'm getting ones native to my country. That's my only reservation. Your wife is pretty clued up. Hope you have many years of home butterfly fun. I have horrible feelings about this. I manage natural areas and we have no clue how monarch migration works. Are we interrupting an important cue? Captive conditions are a great way to spread disease through close contact. I'm sure you are very diligent, but without a doubt many people forget about them and they die. I'm sure the park staff where you live spends tons of resources trying to keep milkweed and other native plants in parks for them as well. Please enjoy them in nature and plant native plants wherever you can. This just has all the markings of human foibles where we think we are helping. Monarch butterflies know what they are doing and have been doing it quite well for a long time. Yes. We are diligent, providing them with plenty of food and clean living space. Out of the couple dozen eggs we've found, we were able to hatch and release every single one. Not one death, at least not prior to fluttering away in the sunlight. I get your concern and had reservations myself. My wife, however, is very stubborn, was determined this was her project, and has a master's in biology conservation and 15 years experience with zoological and veterinary sciences, so I'll default to her expertise on this. I'm kinda just along for the ride. Like I said, no shade on you guys, but I don't think most are as careful. Plus they asking people to take Asclepias plant material out of the wild, I guarantee most are not checking for monarch eggs or tiny caterpillars before stripping the foliage off a plant that some park staff planted with the express purpose of providing habitat for monarchs and an educational opportunity to everyone who uses that natural area. Plant native plants and enjoy monarchs in nature where they can be a source of enjoyment for all. I mean, it sounds like his wife is the expert city governments bring in to help park management create and execute resource conservation in the first place. If the thinking is we should leave it to the experts, she is literally that person. Obviously a good message for the general public though. Keep in mind soil isn't just minerals. It's all sorts of microbiological life that has developed ecosystems in the soil for centuries. Whatever we do to soil, cutting down trees, moving heavy machinery over it constantly, inserting chemicals on top of it, etc., is affecting the microscopic ecosystems existing within it. Plants need more than minerals to grow. Decades of heavy chemical use has ruined most of the most fertile soils to operate as they should, microbe activity etc. has been destroyed. Vast fields with no hedgerows/trees etc. have taken over from a much more secure system with smaller lots. A puff of wind and hundreds of tons of soil blow away, often into waterways or the sea, which causes problems there as well. Outdated government policies encourage this as well, see the corn price guarantee in the US, but that's just an example. UK etc. have other stupid outdated policies because they're scared of unions and elections speak louder than sense. But we have to feed everyone doesn't stand up as an argument, because it would be more productive in the long term if we allowed biodiversity to work for us again. And besides, if it's so important that food production is efficient, why is there 80 million tons of food waste in the US alone every year? The system is FD, and what's left of the soil can't take any more abuse. Edit to add. If you want quite a simplistic but reasonably informative intro to it all, watch the documentary Kiss the Ground, on Netflix still I think. It's likely not doing us any favors that our existing system encourages farmers to chase the maximum profit margin, leaving many unable to break even unless they stick to monocropping and synthetic fertilizers. While the concept of organic farms with high biodiversity and native wildflowers is appealing, the reality is that it's not lucrative enough for most to take the plunge. The Yemeni Civil War. a war since 2014 with lots of bloodshed, almost 400,000 dead, a crazy amount of superpowers and organizations involved from Iran, Saudi Arabia, Al-Qaeda and North Korea to the United States, France and Great Britain with major economic and geopolitical ramifications at hand. The United Nations estimated 21.6 million people in the region need humanitarian assistance. It's crazy how underreported and largely unknown it is. After this conflict ceased for now, Ethiopia and Eritrea might be gearing up for another conflict. As for Eritrea, Eritrea's leader, the only one since independence in 1993, on elections, there's been none. The mere suggestion that he needed a mandate from the Eritrean people took him by surprise when a journalist fielded a question about when polls might be held in the country. What elections? Afwerki brusquely responded combatively before launching a seemingly unrelated diatribe against the United States. We will see what the elections in the United States will bring, and we will wait about 3 or 4 decades until we see genuine, natural situations emerge. Maybe more, who knows, he said with a chillingly straight face. Antibiotic resistance. It genuinely scares me how there's people dying every year from being infected by superbugs, having to let them die from a sepsis as there are no effective antibiotics for them. And it'll only get worse. People just keep taking antibiotics without respecting the recommended dose as if they're sweets. The overuse of antibiotics in farming is of much greater concern. Stuffing animals full of antibiotics is a way to have animals being kept in cramped, filthy conditions while reducing loss due to sickness caused by the filth. Factory farming isn't just an animal welfare issue, it's a public health issue. So very true. All of these preventive antibiotics so that animals don't get sick from the sickening conditions they are kept in. Too bad our government gives billions in subsidies to the mass AG industry instead of regulating them heavier. Seriously. I've limited my meat intake because of learning that a few years ago. I work with animals on a game and antibiotics are a last-ditch effort. We know the risk of antibiotic resistance and want to limit the potential of that happening. It's pretty much false that we, agriculturists/animal husbandry/etc., do that. To reduce the use we have to be forward-thinking in how facilities are set up to reduce the spread of disease, and we like to use a lot of preventative vaccines to reduce the chance of disease. Also, and I'm speaking for myself and where I work, we clean every day and once a week we sanitize animal spaces to reduce filth. Public health and animal science actually go hand in hand a lot. One major/minor is actually growing in popularity about this overlap. It's called One Health, which combines animal health, public health and environmental health and teaches us, I minored in it, to work collaboratively to reduce risk to all sectors that I mentioned before. It's funny the AG people chiming in here are being downvoted. I work on ranches occasionally and antibiotics are only used when absolutely necessary. Yeah, the cattle get doctored with dewormer etc., but antibiotics are only used to save the animal, well, extend its life. On the last operation I worked on, I'd say 4 to 5 of the 2,500 head that season had to have some form of antibiotics. It's easy to hate on us because some people and organizations do not treat animals respectfully and overcrowd them. There are probably people who provide too many antibiotics, but that's not everyone. If I were a vet, I'd probably get less shit for what I do, but I'm not. I chose to work with research livestock on a farm and have studied and read some of these outdated ideas that have been debunked. The animals I've been around very rarely get antibiotics. We will try any other method first, but somehow, the idea that animals are constantly given antibiotics for no reason is still being peddled. Microplastic covering every inch of the planet. It was found in breast milk too. And the concentration is only going to go up since the ocean is a giant plastic atomizer now and the world dumps a few 100 million tons of plastic waste each year. 1 million bottles a minute. Enjoy that bottled drink. It absolutely baffles me that people are still buying bottled water. It should be for sanitary situations only. And not only that, now it's a billion-dollar industry that can defend itself legislatively, so we'll never be rid of it. We just have to hope for tech as usual to do the right thing. And everyone who shuts me down when I look for policy change is an old POS who will be dead within 25 years. Not trying to shut you down, but why is every problem human civilization has left up to the individual person to solve here? I use reusable bottles. I don't really buy plastic water bottles ever. I walk to work, I recycle, I check my meat consumption. What more would you like me to do? At some point people have to understand the individual can only do so much. I have to house, clothe, and feed myself in the society I live in. The onus for solutions should never be on the individual, but rather the parties responsible for this mess in the first place. There's ethnic cleansing happening in Darfur, Sudan. Been happening. Back in college at Boston University in 2005 there were flyers everywhere begging students for support. The conflict died down for some years. Splitting into North Sudan and South Sudan was supposed to be one of the remedies. Someone correct me or elaborate. Yeah, the split was proposed as the solution but should probably be a case study in that continuing degradation of nation-states into ethnically stable groups is not likely the strategy. We need to find a way to bring these populations together that isn't war or religion. I agree, but on the second part, I think that it isn't anything that we can do besides move out of the way really, which would still be complicated, and even if complicated it's certainly not happening. It would have to be something that involves the agency of the people impacted. And that's what makes these things sticky. The intervention and disturbance happened long ago. And we can't really fix that. Same thing with so-called setting people free. That's not benevolent or empowering once the deed has already been done, and then the people doing the freeing still hold the authority to free others. How much plastic is inside of us, especially tiny threads of plastic from our clothes, and we don't know what it will do to us. We are starting to form a picture. Right now the concentration is still pretty low, but as both plastic concentration increases and the concentration of chemicals impregnated into plastic also increases, infertility, inflammation, metabolic disorder, early cognitive decline. And it will increase as the ocean is a giant, 24/7 plastic atomizer blanketing the world in finer and finer plastic particles through its constant wave action. Can't really shut off the ocean, can you? Apparently donating blood may help with reducing the concentration of plastics in your blood, as you are essentially taking it out of your body. Just sharing this so that worried people can do something about it. Came back around to bloodletting being good, lol. People have a lot of alarm about this, but paraffins are extremely chemically inert. It takes very strong oxidizing agents to react with them, agents that would already be doing other, worse things if they got into your body. It's possible that they could physically, mechanically cause issues in the body if they were to accumulate somewhere in large enough masses, but I can't see microplastic poisoning us chemically. Well, the Gulf Stream is collapsing, so please like and subscribe for more daily content.